Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, step right up and enter our world. A warning to all, a word of beware. This isn't your normal paranormal affair. The strong man's inside. The wolf boy is too. There's a frozen Neanderthal and a bearded lady to boot. The admission is free, no fee to come near. Your stories you'll hear, born of horror and fear. A Bigfoot sighting is certain, a ghost story or two, an alien abduction, or a conspiracy brood. We're the collectors of stories, testimonies of the weird. Yes, soon you'll learn much of the world the normal ones fear. Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your host, John and Stacey Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And we've got a cool, pretty awesome episode, if I do say so myself.
Well, we think they're all awesome.
Well, we do. We do. But
this one's awesome.
This one is. It's kind of like the intro. The intro on episode 1 was awesome, but I think it's a little more awesome and a little less disturbing now.
Mm-hmm.
Tad bit, yeah. ParanormalSideshow.com. That's where to go, and it's your destination for everything Paranormal Sideshowish. And you will find the news. You will find the hardworking Stacey Edwards scouring the web, making her own spin on the stories news all over that place. And you'll find links to the podcast. And whether you've got an iPhone or you've got one of those damn there droids, however you like to listen to it, that's a way to find it. Or you can just listen to it off the site itself, if you haven't figured that out already. Facebook.com/Paranormal Sideshow. Obviously there, that's our Facebook. And then on Twitter, it's @Sideshow97. And that's, probably where you're going to find us talking about UFC fighting, during UFC pay-per-views.
Or football, maybe.
Or maybe some football, or maybe some just angst that we have out there. Because we have a little bit more than just the paranormal, but you also have us live tweeting during a lot of your favorite paranormal shows, because we like to poke fun at everything. And then on Instagram, it's John and Stacey Edwards, and that's pretty easy, and that's where you'll find a lot of cool adventure pics, beautiful landscapes by John. That
currently lots of lighthouses, because we're kind of on the lighthouse kick right now.
A little bit of lighthouses
before it gets too cold to go see a lighthouse.
Hey, I took you out on some cliffs.
You did.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's I didn't think I'd ever get you to look over a cliff. I'm standing there trying to get the perfect picture. And if you go to our Instagram, you'll see I got one where the waves are coming in and what is it, the head of a wave?
I guess so. The foamy part crashing on the rocks.
Yeah.
Is, spray.
Yeah, the spray going all over the place. And the next thing I know, Stacey is descended down the side of the cliff. She started walking, and I didn't say anything because I didn't want to spook her. It's like if you got your kid and you turn around and they're climbing a wall or something, you don't exactly want to say anything and have them fall into the ocean, because she's terrified of two things: heights and water. And more than that, she had a recurring dream since she was young of being a captive or being chained to a rock face. Now stop me if I'm wrong. Being chained to a rock face. Imagine England. Imagine they found out she was a witch, and they.
No, I will say I wasn't always chained and stuff. Usually, I was just in a position in the dream where I couldn't get out of where I was. I couldn't climb. I couldn't go anywhere. It was just sheer rock face and huge waves.
Right. And the tide was coming up.
Yes. Very quickly.
And you were going to drown. You do know they killed witches like that sometimes.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Okay. And
I'm aware.
You do know that did happen in England.
Yes.
Okay. I just was wondering if you kept up with the Pendle Times. I didn't know.
Yes. I'm aware of all that.
All right.
But that was a terrible recurring nightmare. But I am scared of heights, but in situations like that where I have solid ground under me, I'm kind of okay. It's when you can see through the bottom
Right.
that I start having the problems. Like I don't walk on sewer grates and stuff.
So it's not just the heights; it's the fact of seeing.
The heights make me queasy, but I can control that. I know that I'm not going to fall off.
Right.
But when you can start seeing through the floor, like the graded steps and the see-through bridges and things like that, that's where I start getting the problem.
Well, you know, I know you said you hated swinging bridges.
Yes, I don't see the point to a swinging bridge.
But
bridges should not swing.
But you're probably the bravest person I've ever had on a paranormal hunt with me.
Well, good.
So, if that makes you feel any better.
It does. It does. I can overcome sometimes.
I don't think I've ever had you to the point on a ghost hunt where you couldn't handle it.
No.
More so than me.
Yeah.
I've never had you to that point, and you've seen some stuff too. I mean,
I have.
Just with
so
me,
far, I haven't seen anything. I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but I haven't seen anything that's absolutely scared me so bad that I felt like I needed to leave or anything like that.
But you've seen a full body apparition with me.
I have.
And that didn't scare you?
No.
Just startled you?
Yeah. I was surprised, but I didn't feel like fleeing the house or anything.
So what would it take to scare you? Because now you've come to me before with scratches all over your body that I've taken pictures of. And and this girl is just like, hey, what you doing? Watching TV. What are you doing? Oh, nothing. I just thought maybe I'd show you this. Do you got a second? I'll show you something. All right. What is it? Oh, nothing. Look, as she pulls her shirt up, not for a good reason, I got these scratches on my stomach and I didn't do it. And then look at this one. It's forming right now. Isn't that strange? I just found it was a bit odd. Do you get any feelings on it? Yeah, I got feelings on it. You have something that's scratching you right now. It's not a very good thing, through the history of ghost hunting. And Stacey's like, well, maybe they're just trying to communicate.
I had a rock thrown at me once.
Yes.
At ETSU. Hit me right in the leg. Yeah. It was just a little rock, just a pebble. They weren't trying to kill me.
Speaking of that, later we're going to have our resident man of letters joining us, and Travis Mouldon, and any long-term fans of the show back from the Haunted South days, you'll know Travis Mouldon's name because we've brought him on. He was actually on a few episodes of Haunted South.
Yeah, he was.
And
he's investigated with us a bunch of times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, he's part of the team. Still part of the team. The very small, minute team that we like to keep. But yeah, he's still. I consider him and Alan Marston, and part of the inner sanctum, if you will. Travis especially but Travis is also our mathlete, if you will. He's our resident. I like to think of him as, when Merlin on the show Merlin. Now here's a stretch. on the show Merlin a few years back, how Merlin would become old Merlin,
right?
And he could go have the old white beard, even though it was that 20-year-old kid playing him. Right. That's Travis Mouldon. Travis Mouldon can be Merlin most of the time until I need him to be old Merlin. And then all of a sudden, all his mathleteness, all his raised by a preacher, all his this guy's never met a book he hasn't read. And to put him over appropriately, the benefit to him on our team originally was not really that he's not a skeptic at all.
Oh, no.
But he has a healthy skepticism.
Yes, that's true.
And you guys have always worked well together because you both had this where I'm full on, all right, look, I seen it, I'm that ex, I've already seen you naked. So what's it really going to matter if I see you naked again?
Right.
Anyway, Travis is a great benefit, and we're doing a lot of features on the show. Like we told you last week, some week's going to be a special guest, and we're going to talk about whatever, Men in Black or radio sweep frequencies or whatever. We're going to have our news, but one of our other ongoing programs on the show will be Let's Talk About
a Topic.
Yeah, a topic.
Yeah.
And this week it just so happens to be Let's Talk About Ghost.
Oh boy.
And I know it's a novelty on paranormal radio these days.
To actually talk about ghosts.
To talk about ghosts. Mm-hmm. God forbid that we actually have an intelligent conversation. We hope it's intelligent about ghosts. But that's what we're going to do, kids, is we're going to have a little bit of news, a little bit of laughs.
Yes.
And then we're going to have Mr. Travis Mouldon from our crew, if you will,
yes,
join us from his dungeon library.
For a discussion.
Yeah, for a discussion.
Imagine that, a discussion.
And speaking of discussions, it's about time for some paranormal news.
Okay, so let's get into some news.
Let's.
All right, so this first story is about the SpaceX rocket that just blew up recently in Cape Canaveral. They were trying to launch it.
Burning Money, what, 9?
I don't even know. I think I've lost count. So they were trying to launch a satellite into space, and something happened. I don't think they even still know what happened.
Wasn't it a Facebook satellite?
I think so.
I think it was a Facebook satellite supposed to be bringing internet to
to the Middle East,
outer
and
Mongolia,
Europe, parts
or something.
of Africa, stuff like that. So
because they're real concerned about their internet, I'm sure.
Well, maybe they are. You know, right. I know how you feel about all those countries getting internet that didn't have it before.
Yeah, the ones that we're going to ruin.
Yeah, probably.
And everybody's going to have the same taste buds.
Hey, everybody loves a good cat video.
Oh my God.
All right. Anyway, so I bring this up.
I do like African cat videos because it's normally a big ass cat.
I bring it up not to talk about the actual explosion of SpaceX, but to bring up the fact that when this happened, I mean, not even a few minutes after this happened, I think that what you said to me was, gee, I wonder how long it's going to take for someone to put up a video claiming that this was done by a UFO.
Yes.
And how long did it take?
It was later that day. It may have been the next day.
Well, no, I think it was actually that night or something.
It was that night.
I think. So there was the video and all the headlines with the UFO blows up SpaceX and all the conspiracy things. It was fantastic.
So I have a few things to say about this. Okay, just a few things. Mr. John Tenney helped me cover it very well on Facebook. He posted something about it was something about ghost, but it pertained to something similar to this, and I talked about this SpaceX thing on there, and he already had a meme created.
Of course he did.
About UFOs and why they actually need the lights
with their technology.
You should look at it.
Okay,
it's really funny. But and anybody who listens to the show, if you've never listened to a John Tenney podcast, shame on you. Don't just turn this off. Go listen to John Tenney and then come back in a couple of years when you're caught up. No, here's the thing, folks. I talked about, I believe, last week, and I've talked about many times, many volumes of this conversation. An open mind is great.
Right.
But you have to be careful because it is a dark, dangerous rabbit hole on conspiracies of jumping down there and everything's a conspiracy, which makes us all look like Looney Tunes.
Yes.
The best way to put it is the reason I thought that was going to happen was because anytime something has to do with space, there's a conspiracy theory. Anytime something has to do with the government, there's a conspiracy theory. Now, granted, there are a lot of secret societies. There are a lot of things happening that we don't realize, a lot of black budget stuff. Billions and trillions of dollars spent on things we don't know that's happening, and many that we suspect are. I do believe in UFOs. I do believe in extraterrestrial life, and that's also chronicled. But when a bird flies through the freaking frame, then don't blame the crow for the rocket blowing up. I mean, it's one of those things that, number one, you got to ask yourself, what did the UFO gain? And this higher intelligence, this infinite intelligence, either us from the future, interdimensional beings, someone who figured out how to fly here from 9 million light years away in a week. Ask yourself, why would they let themselves be seen on the video that they're probably going to have running on a freaking rocket. More than likely, there's going to be a camera on the rocket. So if you want to secretly blow up this rocket, you might want to be cloaked. And the same person who creates these videos has the video an hour before about cloaked UFOs that we can't see unless we use the super secret night vision. And, which is cool. And you know what? I do kind of buy into the fact that you might be able to see some UFOs with infrared that you wouldn't be able to see otherwise. See, I'm saying that you might be able to do that, but think for 1 second. Okay, just for a moment, amuse me here. If you wanted to blow up the rocket and you wanted to be seen, I would just fly my spacecraft that could obliterate everyone into the rocket, or feet from it,
or something,
and disintegrate it.
Right.
I would be seen if I wanted to be seen.
Right.
If I didn't want to be seen, I wouldn't be seen, and you wouldn't know why the rocket malfunctioned, or I would wait till it was far enough up, off the pad.
Right.
That to be seen like that, unless there is a greater thing happening, such as a false government, false flag UFO invasion that they're brewing, and they have their own extraterrestrial, looking crafts or drones that they're blowing up their own stuff to be able to instill fear into everyone, and all of a sudden put us under military control by saying there is a UFO.
This that slippery hole you're talking about?
It's a slippery hole. But if I made a video saying that's what it was,
right,
then everybody would share it.
Yeah, they would, especially if you put it in all caps.
Yeah, I mean, especially
gotta have all caps.
Especially all caps.
Well, the point is, it's obvious that this was just a bird flying through. I mean, it's pretty obvious. It just flew right through.
And if you do have evidence otherwise, I am totally willing to look at the evidence.
Some picture of some UFO zoomed in so you can tell what it is.
I watched this thing 1,000 times.
Yeah,
I did. I kept going back, scrubbing back and forth. And I can't see a flight pattern. I can't see an up and down thing from a bird. It looks like a black ball going through. So the more I watched it, the more I started going, damn, I really hope this isn't the UFO that that comes out.
Maybe. Well, I didn't watch it that much. I watched it a couple of times. But is it possible, I'm asking you now because I didn't see it enough, could it have been a bug very close to the camera?
Here's a couple of thoughts.
Yeah.
I thought maybe it was a drone that was flying around to get better shots of the flight.
Right.
I thought that maybe it was a faraway plane that was wanting to get shots, for TV or for their own personal use. And I thought it was a bird, or I thought it was something that somebody put there afterwards.
Oh. Well, let's see how many possibilities there could be.
Because
we just listed them.
It could be CGI. And in ghost hunting, if you want to refer back to ghost hunting, what do we do when there's several possibilities?
Well, you throw it out.
Yeah, exactly.
So, if it's not concrete,
basically, if you
chalk it up to good personal experience and you get rid of it.
If you see a video from 2014 from a website that claims to be something about disclosing, it's more than likely not worth your time. There's a lot of good stuff out there. There's a lot of great sightings and there's great information. Just be careful and watch as many as you want and have your own opinion on them. And we do. I completely go with that. This particular thing, though, there's too many possibilities of what this could be. And, I don't think this is a UFO.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Okay,
Right.
Well, let's move on. This next story was just one that we actually did post on our website, and it's from about an asteroid, which I thought was really strange. It's about an asteroid that actually almost hit Earth.
Yeah.
It was very close.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about it is they supposedly didn't even know that this asteroid almost hit us until a few hours before it passed us by. Like somehow they missed it, or I'm not exactly sure how that happened or how that worked.
And oddly enough, what was it, a week before that, all these other countries started putting out these, hey citizens, you may want to stock up for 10 days worth of food.
Yeah, and they
and
were
water.
saying it was because of in case they got attacked or ISIS or something. I can't remember the
Right,
reason behind
but it was like Russia and then Germany.
Germany. I heard about Germany.
I mean, I think there was 3 countries or so that was coming out, and they were saying this, and then all of a sudden we have our beard trimmed by an asteroid.
Mm-hmm. So this one was actually it came within, let me find the number here.
Dude, it was very close.
52,580 miles away.
Yeah, which
sounds like a long way, but that's actually only like a third of the way to the moon. It was
Yeah.
between us and the moon.
on the closer side of us in the moon. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It was crazy.
That's damn near Thundar the Barbarian creation. I mean, that's
And it was twice as big as that one that
everybody freaked out about.
The one that came through the atmosphere over Russia and destroyed all those buildings
Oh,
and
yeah,
things.
yeah.
Remember that was when was that? 2013.
Yeah.
So this was twice as big as that.
Yeah.
So if it had hit us, it would have caused some crazy
Damage. Yeah.
And what
Level of city.
So I'm wondering 2 things about this. One, if they didn't see it until hours before, why not?
Right.
And if they did know about it, why wouldn't they say anything?
Okay, I don't believe they knew about it.
No, I don't think they did either, because I don't think they would have just not said anything.
That's the scary part.
Yeah.
I would almost much rather they knew about it, because if they knew about it, they would probably be the United States, and they weren't saying anything because it was hitting North Korea.
Somehow I think we'd still get fallout from that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but they knew, they didn't know, man, and that's what the scary thing is, that we can get hit, and we're due. Mm-hmm. We're due. We're
way overdue.
We're due for the big earthquake.
Oh yeah, we're due for the big volcano in Yellowstone.
I think basically we're due for an extinction level event.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yes.
with that said, I'm going to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah, well, of course.
Yeah. I mean, you can't let this rule your life. And this is almost like the conspiracies. You can't let it rule you. Mm-hmm. You can rule it, and you can talk about it. Be prepared. And that's the biggest thing we need to tell everyone. And that's for all this. That's for the conspiracies. That's for the extinction level events. Be prepared. And that's the best thing. Have some canned food. Have water, at least for a good 2 weeks supply.
I mean, we kind of have to have that stuff anyway because we live in Maine.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be prepared.
You have to be prepared to
you
not
never
have
know
power
when
for
an
a while.
army of moose are going to be outside and won't let you leave. But no, I mean, it's really good. It's a good practice, a best practice, just to be prepared and even a little at a time. Use it in your storeroom, whatever. We don't practice that as good as we should.
Right.
But if you got a cellar or wherever, just have at least a week's worth of water. Have a can opener and some canned goods, just in case, because you never know.
Candles.
Especially
Have some candles.
Yeah, candles. Especially this day and time, you never know when something is going to happen. And I especially want anyone who listens to the show to be safe. So we can all, meet up somewhere like Salem, Massachusetts, and just start our own colony. So
Too much Fallout 4 for you.
sorry, I love Fallout 4.
All right, well, let's move on. This next story is about some UFO hunters that claim they have found an alien base using Google Maps.
That's the
best way.
That's the best way
to find an alien base, isn't it?
It is either that or Tumblr.
So. Tumblr. So they found this area that they call the Eye.
The Eye.
And they say it looks kind of like a floating
Looks kind of
island.
like an eye.
And they conclude that it's actually a large alien base located in Argentina. Because that's where all UFOs are. In
That's where Juan Cruz Martini is.
So it said the island's surrounded by a small lake, and it's almost the perfect shape of a circle. And so they just think that this is super intriguing. And apparently Argentina has an overabundance of UFO sightings.
They do.
And so they've put all this together saying that they think that this is something and they want to investigate it. Kudos to them for actually wanting to investigate, not just saying we found this and whatever.
Well, they did kind of,
Well, they did put it out there a little early.
I guess they were wanting to crowdfund it. Is that it?
Yeah, they've done a Kickstarter. They want people to send them money so they can go to this place.
So do you think maybe we could put them in touch with the Millennium Falcon at the bottom of the Baltic Sea people?
Maybe.
And there could be a little bit left in that checkbook.
Yeah, I doubt it. I doubt it.
Well, I mean, it's been a while, maybe it's the same guys.
No, it's not. But there actually is. I did put this story on our website because there actually is a video.
I've seen it floating around.
That they made. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen. I've been ignoring it for a week.
They made a video all about this thing and how they found it and what they want to do. And
oh my God, it's Mordor.
The eye.
Oh my God.
No, it's not.
Don't draw attention to it.
I did post the video on there. I didn't watch the whole thing. I'm ashamed. I did start it though and catch the beginning.
Wow, it must have been very entertaining.
I think I was just actually in the middle of something else at the time and I had to stop it and get up and I never got back to it. So
I hope it's Mordor.
Okay, last story. Let's get to the last.
The Lord of the Rings was real.
Yeah, no, that's a story for a whole nother time.
It
There
is
is something to that story.
I'm telling you.
There is. Okay, so anyway. So this last story was really just kind of funny, but I wanted to put it on here just because our main attraction tonight is about ghosts. And so I thought this was kind of a funny story. It's been floating around a little bit. But it's about the pub owner from England that claims he had his ghost stolen by an artist. And so
was it in a Chinese?
It was a Chinese artist.
Why do they have to have everything? Well, listen, I know people download this. I've actually seen the Chinese people. Listen, you don't have to own everything. Well, I keep waiting for them to come by you.
He wanted it for an art show. So the pub is called Ye Old Man and Scythe.
Oh, well, that's the greatest name
ever. It was actually the fourth oldest pub in Britain. It was mentioned in a charter in 1251. I mean, it is an old pub. Of course it's haunted.
Give me a bottle of your own never
I would
mind.
be surprised if they only had the one ghost.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Oh, no way.
So they say that it's been haunted since 1644 by the ghost of an earl who drank there right before his execution, and he was executed right in front of the pub. So the ghost name is James Stanley, the 7th Earl of Derby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this Chinese artist, I can't pronounce his name. His first name's Lou, so we're going to call him Lou.
All right.
He heard about the ghost and he was really intrigued with it. And so he decided he wanted to go and capture it and put it into his art exhibit. So he traveled from China.
So is it a cool story where he took a picture and captured it because he's an artist?
No. He took a metal canister into the pub's bathroom because apparently he thought the ghost was in the bathroom or something. It's not quite explained well. And he said some kind of incantation or something and trapped it in the metal canister. And then he took that with him back to China. I'm not sure how he checked that on the plane. I mean, what do you do? It's like, it's a ghost. Please don't open it. I mean, what do you do?
I would be like, yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
And,
I hate my life.
And so he's supposedly showing it in this art show, and he plans on taking it to other, around with him all around the world for all these art shows. So
why don't I think of these things?
The pub's owner, got kind of upset because he wasn't.
It's like the Yeti era.
As he said, he wasn't privy to the fact that this was going to happen. And so he wrote the guy a letter and he said, I would like to have been privy to your actions and that you wanted to exhibit the ghost before you took him out of the pub. And he said, I feel like he belongs here. He needs to stay here. And so he agreed to let him show him, but asked that he return him to the pub after all the art shows are done. Well, return him to where he belongs.
The Earl's out having just the time of his life. It's like,
maybe. I don't know.
It's his gap year.
I mean, is that something can you take somebody to court for stealing your ghost? I mean, is that a thing?
Man, have you seen the court dockets lately?
Yeah, that's true.
I just hate to think of all the ghosts that I've accidentally taken.
So this pub's in Bolton.
Not Lob?
Yeah. In Bolton, yes. Bolton's not a palindrome, just so you know.
Anything from Not Lob's cool. All right. That was some good stories, and I think it's about time for our main attraction. Honored guests, friends, and marks, we here at the Paranormal Sideshow would ask that those faint of heart or weak of the knees to please switch off this broadcast as it's time for the supernatural spectacle, a mystery wrapped inside of an enigma and stuffed neatly inside of a Tijuana taco roll. It's now time for our main attraction. All right. And that main attraction tonight is one that, like I said, God forbid that we talk about it. on a paranormal show.
Right.
But as the title suggests, let's talk about ghosts. Joining us on our main attraction tonight is a guy, a man, a myth, a legend. And as I compared him earlier, this guy's never met a book he hasn't read twice. And he's our international man of mystery, our personal man of letters, Travis Mouldon. Travis has been an investigator, teacher, and artiste for as long as I've known him. But he was actually on teams with us before. He was one of the only people that we allowed when we went into our let's do this on our own thing. When we decided that the best team is you and I, we also included Travis on that. One of the biggest reasons is out of anyone I ever investigated with, you've got your historians on teams, and you've got your occultist, and he's a little bit of all of it. And a lot of that comes from his upbringing, which he got a whole heaping amount of religion involved in that, but he knows it really well, and not just one, many. So not to put too much pressure on you, Travis, but welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
Yeah, man. I talked about the fact that you were, original Haunted South alum. So,
right.
Basically, on this segment, if you will, we were going to explore a few different things, and we were going to start off with
what are ghosts?
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about ghosts, the first thing you got to talk about is what you think a ghost is.
And we have our opinions on this, and it's sort of taking this in a round table type discussion. I would like to start off with you, Travis, on, in your opinion or popular opinion, actually, what would you think ghosts are?
Well, popular opinion, as far as the TV shows, the paranormal shows, and the popular books that are out, and what the shows primarily are trying to get everybody to read, they've got it narrowed down, which I think is understating the whole matter. But there's residuals, you've got intelligence, you've got elementals, and depending on who sees it and how they react to it, whether they call it a ghost or not.
Right.
And my personal opinion is a ghost. The intelligent hauntings is what I would more consider a real ghost.
Right.
Imprints, I think, are a scientific phenomenon that we don't. Well, it's all a scientific phenomenon that we don't understand. But the imprints and the residuals, it's a matter of time, space, or energy levels and trauma. I mean, there's all kinds of things that I think could be taken into account. But I think that's a separate thing.
Right.
From ghosts or energies that you consider to be a haunting.
Right. And, speaking more on that, I kind of, when we were coming up with this and doing our research, I segmented it off. And a few of the things that you spoke about, we're going to expand on throughout the discussion. But, I know Stacey was talking about ghosts and spirits.
Right. Like, I feel like there are two separate things. Like, you have ghosts that are maybe people that have died but have not crossed over, or the apparitions that you can actually see, but then you have spirits, are like people that have passed on and crossed over, but they can come and go. They can talk to you, they can talk to mediums, but they don't have to stick around.
Right.
That kind of thing.
They've got access to go back and forth.
Right. So I think that there's a distinct difference between those two things. So if we're talking just about, just ghosts per se, and not, the spirit of your grandmother that checks on you every night, I feel like that's going to be something that maybe is stuck somewhere for whatever reason. That's something that we have to, talk about.
Yeah.
Or it maybe is confined to one place or attached to something, or for some reason has not moved over to the other side for whatever. I mean, a number of reasons. There could be a number of reasons.
Yeah. Right. Whether it's their own personal confusion or a stronger spirit that's just not letting them do what they need to do.
Right. Which oddly enough is two
is another thing we're going to expand on.
It's both things that I was going to expand on. Personally, a lot of people will hit you with the ghoster energy. Okay.
Right.
And the reason we measure, and we'll talk about equipment later on too, but the reason we use energy measuring equipment to try to see if a ghost is there or not there is because of that ghost or energy. Well, I personally don't subscribe to that completely. I believe that a spirit uses energy, and I believe that lack of energy can cause them not to be able to communicate with you. I don't believe they just disappear and dissipate and go away. I do believe that it takes a certain type of energy in order to communicate, and we're all energy. I mean, really, and they use our energy to communicate with us, especially at heightened sense of fear,
Yeah, and also, I mean, then you have to pull in the whole fact of frequencies too, and there's all the different frequencies and all the different, lights and everything. I mean, all of that somehow has to play into it.
Yeah, meteorological even.
Yeah.
I think has something to do with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that, and I don't want to jump the gun on this, but because of when we get into our canon discussion on this, they've sort of boxed it off. They've sort of come up with residual, intelligent, demonic, poltergeist, and it has to be one of these categories, and it doesn't always. After doing this for 19 years, I won't lie and say 20, but
you just like to round. We just round.
After doing this for 19 years, this summer, I would, the one thing I figured out is that there's not there's too many categories. There's so many different turns and twists in the paranormal. You know what I'm saying, Travis?
Absolutely, yeah. You really can't narrow. I mean, there's some things that you just can't put in a single box.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And some of the things we've experienced, you can't really put in a box. You can get close to the box. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with saying, well, it's sort of like this.
Right.
But I have a problem with thinking that we can identify, it's the unknown for a reason.
Right.
Exactly.
I will say that some of the notes I had for our first part here on Under What is a Ghost, and this is just personal things. Obviously, people who have listened to the show for a while know that, and something else that we'll get to, but I have, developed sensitivities to the paranormal, I guess you could say, and or to the other side, and there's many layers to that as well. It's hard to put it in one of your little 5 or 6 columns for that, but because of that, I personally don't like residual.
Right.
I personally think that I don't think there's a residual haunting. And before you go crazy on me and start messaging me and tell me all that, I think they're all intelligent. I just think that sometimes, and Travis actually alluded to this a while ago, sometimes I think they're in their own construct, and that maybe they're by choice on a loop from 1863 of the last day of their life, or they're looking for their loved one coming back from sea.
Right.
And I believe that we pull them out of that sometimes, or someone moves into a house and pulls them out of this loop. So yes, it's residual to an extent, until something pulls them out of that construction. Yeah.
Like you change something about where they are.
Right. The construction, always the construction.
Right.
Personally, I believe that's the case, just because of all the investigations that I've done. I've always had interaction.
Well, if you think about it, when we were talking about kind of what we think a ghost is, if in fact a ghost is a spirit that maybe didn't cross over and stayed here, and that the reason for that was some kind of traumatic thing, then that would be a reason for them to be in their own little, maybe they're looking for their lost loved one, or they died so suddenly that they don't realize that they're dead. And that would cause them to see whatever it is they remember all the time. And that would sort of force them into that construct or whatever.
Well, one of my reasons for this, when you have a dream, and in the dream, you maybe always dream of your parents' house that you grew up in. It may be something modern, but it happens.
The Hotel from The Shining.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It happens.
happens.
It happens in a familiar place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think the reason for that is that's our construct.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that, you know, in our head we have the best made place that we know every nook and cranny of, but it's taking place in something that's familiar to us. Right. And, you know, so maybe this place they die in, it still has the furniture from that time period, and, you know, and it's a field of theories, but that was where,
that's a theory. That's
where mine was. And, you know, speaking of theories, that kind of gets us into.
Well, I do want to mention something before we get into the theories, because I know that we're kind of moving on with that. But as we were talking about the ghost canon, you know, like, right, so to speak, and, you know, we didn't really touch on the fact you talked about how there was so many different things and how all these categories, but, you know, the influence that the paranormal TV shows have had on
absolutely
on these different categories. It's like people watch these shows and they hear residual, intelligent, demonic, and then they think that everything has to go in that box. Well, that's all they know.
Yeah, and pre-show, Travis made a good point about them taking demonic out of it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were talking about how much the media, big media, whatever you want to call it, has to do with how much exposure the general public has to the paranormal and the unknown.
Right.
Because, you know, there's obviously things that certain people understand that they don't want other people to understand, and, you know, that crosses over into just about everything you talk about on the show from time to time.
Right.
I mean, not to get into conspiracy theories, but, I mean, there's stuff out there that people know that they don't want other people to know. And I think that was just a gut feeling that I had when, like I said earlier, when Ghost Hunters took the demonologist out. It's like, well, maybe we don't want to show, you know, and I realize it's for entertainment, but a lot of people don't see it as entertainment. They see it as, you know, this is the way it is, and there's so much more to it than you can put into half an hour or 45-minute
that's right.
show just trying to sell something.
That's like there are a lot of teams out there that think that because they've watched these paranormal shows that they know everything there is to know about spirits and ghosts and what they need to do, and they do it exactly like they saw on the TV.
You know, that gets into something that we were talking about, Stacey and I. She asked me, because working on this book, I, you know, some of the chapter names, and she asked me about the sports analogy. And so I gave her the sports analogy, and it got into this conversation about paranormal television. Now, let me be the first to say, it has its place, and I personally love paranormal TV.
I do too. I think it's entertaining. It's great.
And I've honestly met some of the best people that I've ever met in the field from paranormal TV,
and I've learned things.
Yeah,
from
absolutely.
Paranormal TV.
Absolutely. But the problem therein lies. My sports analogy was, if you're a kid and you see a basketball laying under a hoop, you have no idea, you know, what you're supposed to do with that. Not without someone, you know, teaching you. So to you, it's a ball, it's a hoop. You know, when you have a teacher come along to show you, a teacher can explain to you, you know, hey, this basketball goes into the hoop. That's the game. Well, the kid goes on and the kid plays and starts to figure that out, and maybe can't get the ball in the hoop yet, but understands the gist of it. You know, and watches basketball games on TV. And
sees them putting the ball in the hoop.
Sees them putting the ball in the hoop, and understands the gist of that. But, you know, yet they can't do a dunk, and they really just want to do the dunk. And for this, let's just say that the dunk or the 3-point shot would be your full body apparition on camera. You know, but you have to get a better teacher, and maybe a better teacher, and maybe hone your skills, and you know, expand your skill set in order to eventually become that basketball player that you saw on television, that basketball player that you want to be. And it takes years. And for most people, it takes from the time they're a child to the time that they're, you know, in college to really get that full skill set in order to be the good ball player. And I feel that the paranormal is like that. And what Stacey was saying and what you were saying is, and nothing against any of these teams, but when you watch it on television, you think, I show up, I do the montage, and I get my gear set up, I meet the creepy janitor and find out where the stuff was.
Do the walkthrough and all that.
And do the walkthrough. And in one night, I'm going to find every mystery of this place.
Right.
You know?
Right. And instead of doing like reading books and learning and, you know, having that teacher, they're just relying on these TV shows to get their knowledge.
The TV shows are an excellent springboard for finding out if you're interested in it and giving you a start. But like you say, without reading and talking to, actually talking to people that do it and doing research.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy.
It is a pretty good analogy.
Thank you. Well, I mean, with the teachers, and that expands on like what I was talking about with you and your history, Travis, is, you grew up in a religious household. You're very well versed on the Christian faith, but you also have looked into other religions, and you got this great understanding of shamanism and many other aspects of religions, and it takes that kind of dedication to really get into the paranormal to that extent where you understand energies, and you understand crystals, and you understand the metaphysical side of things, which the metaphysical side of things is completely yanked out of paranormal television for the most part.
Because of the TV side of it. Like, I mean, it's nothing against people that do paranormal TV shows. They don't have control over that kind of thing. I mean, they're bound by their contracts, and they have to do whatever the TV network says they have to do. Yeah. So,
and I mean, going to that degree, Wes, our first producer for documentary, not our first, but the first one that had a TV outlet.
Right.
He wanted to bang for your buck.
Right.
Or the boo for your buck.
Exactly.
And, there was a lot of things that we had to have long discussions about because, we came into that, and Travis was there for that ride too. We came into that with a certain, I wanted to be the one that got on there and talked about theories and, really sat down in a corner and listened for 4 hours. And I knew what kind of evidence I could get.
Right.
And, I know I can get the evidence, but really what we ended up doing was packaging the slick production of.
Right. And with the evidence and the montage but when you're not the one editing, you get,
and nothing against that. Once again, it's
entertaining.
It's a business.
It is.
But the paranormal itself is not. It's taking
a totally different thing.
It's taking 3 months and spending your own personal time while you have a shoot job,
right?
And trying to figure it out,
spending your extra money,
going to library, going seeing historians, reading the books, going and talking to neighbors, talking to former residents, spending time just sitting in the house.
So much time just sitting.
Yeah.
So much sitting. There's so much sitting. Okay. So basically I'm going to try and wheel us back on track here. So
squirrel,
we figured out that, so we're talking about, ghosts, we got ghosts, and then we have spirits. And then of course you have your elementals and humans, that kind of thing.
Right. A whole different conversation.
That is a whole different show, different main attraction. But talking about that, of course, we talk about theories, and of course John has theories that we've mentioned before about different kinds of spirits and things like that.
Yeah, and not to go too deep into them, I mean, Travis also, we all have our theories, some of my prevalent ones that have to pertain exactly with ghosts, and there again, not to go too deep into it because we have went deep into it before, but the keeper theory, and the name once again comes from an investigation when I ask who is keeping you here or who's holding you here, was and the keeper, there, and anybody who's done in paranormal investigations in the bigger and the larger units, it does seem like a lot of times you'll be having great communication. You'll be having, the ghost will be doing parlor tricks. It'll be doing everything you need it to do, and you'll be talking, and all of a sudden, poof, it's done.
Nothing, right?
And yeah, exactly. And we've had this happen. Old South Pittsburgh Hospital comes to mind. That place, drains your freaking energy. It makes you evil.
It makes you mad we all got mad at each other, and that never happens.
No, it never happens. But one thing, with that place, I felt like there was a controlling spirit that is like, look, shut up. You can't talk to them. In Waverly Hills, I've talked about Tina showing that evidence to me with what looked like the orb escaping, and then the other one comes, brings it back into the facility.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, in those cases, you got one keeper that's just controlling the spirits talking or not, and then you got one that's actually controlling whether they leave.
Yeah. No, I believe
or
personally it's the same thing, but
yeah,
I and what this is, who knows? If you want to talk about maybe someone made a deal in a sick hospital, just give me a little bit extra life. You don't know what you'll do on that deathbed. And so he comes and says, sure, here's 5 seconds. You don't know what happened. Is it angels? Is it, whatever it is, it does seem like there's a stronger spirit, not necessarily inhuman,
right,
that controls the show.
Right. And I think we did an investigation one time where there was a spirit that seemed like it was a keeper. But in life, this spirit had been like in charge of the place.
Right.
And so I guess he still felt like he was in charge. And all the other, I think it was a hospital or something, all the other spirits there were just his charges.
You can go to the whole wolf pack. I mean, what happens in a pack of wolves?
Well, I mean, you got the hierarchy of not necessarily just age, but strength and position within the pack as to how the pack's controlled and who controls it. I mean, you got your alpha and your beta.
Yeah.
And down the line, but the alpha's in charge.
Right. And, maybe in death is the same as in life, and someone just steps up. It could be that simple.
It could be.
But sometimes it feels... I know one time there was a place in Elizabethton, Tennessee. And this place was real heavy to me. It was at the time, it was called Beehive Antiques.
Now it's just a parking lot.
Yeah. That place, for me, there was a doctor who had at one time, when it was a clinic, had allegedly done some terrible things to children or patients, we'll say. That place felt like that doctor was there. And, so was that his punishment? If so, why are these poor people still there? That was one of the few places that I had a severe attack. I had to be carried out of that place. And so those type things don't happen very often, but they do tend to happen, and the keeper thing happens. It's kind of like, to go on my paper booze. That's a theory that's still happening. That's an ever expanding, oh God, what's going to happen? And I've been talking about this on the show since 2010. We love going to Waverly Hills as much as anybody. We, Eastern State Penitentiary, Rolling Hills, all these, Moundville, all these pay-per-boo places, as I like to call them, that have a different team with a different skill set, with a different psychic, with a different, energy in there every night of the year, and day tours, and feeding these spirits with all of this personal energy, negative or positive.
Oh, and opening
I was going to say,
doorways.
from one extreme to the other, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, it's a roller coaster of emotions at all times.
Well, and they're in there, they're opening doorways, they're, EVP sessions, but not closing them out, and probably bringing in God knows what, Ouija boards and stuff. Who knows?
Yeah, but pre-2005, these places didn't exist. Pre-Ghost Hunters. These places did not exist. With the influx of the paranormal television, people saw these places that were in their hometown or 2 hours away or 4 hours away, and they seen this incredible evidence. Or with the case of Waverly Hills, 63,000 people dying in a matter of years, in the same location, and full body apparition on your thermal camera. Shit, I want to go. And I did.
Yeah.
Several times.
Well, yeah, and we're not saying that we think that these places should stop
No,
doing
no,
this,
no.
but you just have to keep in mind.
The whole theory came from the fact that returning back to this place,
Right.
every year it became darker.
Right. Or different or more.
In this particular case,
Yeah.
more. Mm-hmm. We go from having the first year I had a child on the kids floor holding our hands. Mm-hmm. And the fourth floor felt creepy, yeah, but it didn't goes to the fourth floor is freaking demonic and the something else, and then it gets to we've got a doppelganger. And there's a black beast,
and then there's you can't go anywhere by yourself in this building.
Yeah, and there's a black beast that runs on the ceiling. And where did all this come from? Mm-hmm. More than likely, it came from what we put into it.
Yes, it was drawn there or created or whatever.
I don't know. What do you think about that, Travis?
There's no way of telling. I mean, like you said, and we've said before, you got so many different people with so many different energy levels and so many different emotions going in there constantly. And whether they mean to or not, they feed it, and they feed the good and the bad.
Right.
And it's just, plus, I'm just repeating what you guys have said, but, you open doors, and whether you close them or not, I mean, you can even go so far as, if people are seasoned or experienced, so to speak, ghost hunters, if they've got an attachment they may not even know about, and that attachment likes that place better, then that's just, adding to that much more. Mm-hmm. And, that I can see that being a part of, why it's so much deeper or darker or more ominous every time you go back is, if it's getting stronger and somebody comes in there with something that's just kind of hitchhiking for a minute and then decides, hey, this is a lot stronger.
Yeah,
if I become a part of it, it's going to make everything that much stronger.
Well, that's true. I didn't really thought about that, but I mean, that would be a good place to pick up things too, hitchhikers.
Yeah. Pick up things, drop things off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
it's just because you don't know exactly what you're doing with it, and especially if you don't even know that. I mean, we've all had experiences with some type of attachment or at one time or another from varying degrees, and sometimes you don't know, and come to find out it's been there.
Yeah, and you don't realize it until a psychic medium makes you aware of it. You kind of knew it, but you just didn't say it.
Exactly. Exactly.
What's your feeling on vortexes? Not something we've ever really talked about with each other, but in these places, that's if you want to get as scientific as it gets, then we understand the veil that we talk about, the Great Veil. Sometimes
right.
the veil's thinner because of where you're at, or it's thinner because of the moon, or it's thinner because of whatever. And in a certain house, it's easy to find. It seems this doorway or vortex. What's your idea or your view on that?
Well, I mean, for years, I would venture to say back to what Druids. I mean, you had the ley lines and power spots. Where things were more likely to happen, or things were more likely to be seen, which eventually became ceremonial places for rituals and whatnot. And I don't think that's really changed. I think it's more urban now.
Right.
I think whether it's got to do with some type of planetary alignment or just a place geographically or something that's happened there, I don't know. But I think that the way the energy runs, you and I, we've all seen it happen. I mean, there's spots that are stronger than others and where there's more activity. And it's just, I think there's something to it. I just don't know that we can quite explain it, but I think they may have been onto something back when they were laying the ley line, or they recognized ley lines.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I mean,
I think there's a connection between ley lines and vortexes.
Well, I mean, we've talked about before with the ley lines. The interesting part, and I always go back to this. It's one of my big arguments. I believe the information age, it made us dumber than anything. As far as many ways. But one of the big things is really the way we respect the dead. the ancestors, how we communicate, and how they communicated 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. The difference, we went through the whole history of this time of man, the whole history of this time of humanity, and we did it a certain way up until the Industrial Revolution, and up until the information age, up until the nuclear age, when we became so pretentious on what we think we know and what isn't real. And what I have to ask about that is, how did they know back 2,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, where to build that pyramid, where to even with American Indians, some of the power areas, some of the strong spiritual spots, what caused them to pick those places? Obviously something, because you don't spend your entire life and your grandfather's entire life and your son's entire life building a monument,
on a whim.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of I don't know, what kind of dedication, what kind of devotion, what kind of faith did that take?
Oh, whether it's dedication and faith, or it's just the sensitivity that we
have abandoned
ourselves out of.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of times you could talk about children seeing spirits, but being broken, but we break them of it.
So do you feel like people are less apt to believe in ghosts now because there's more technology and we're less in touch with that spiritual nature, I guess?
I believe that they're less apt to believe in things because a few reasons. There's too many fake things going on out there.
Yes, that's true.
I believe it's an information overload. I believe that, especially with the millennials, that they believe that everything that needs to be known and can be known is at their fingertips.
Right.
Yeah. rather
than in their mind or expanding their mind, expanding their heart, going outside.
Going to the library.
Yeah.
Why do we have to go to the library? We can just Google it, whatever.
Because you're going to find something there that,
because you might read a book.
Yeah.
Go figure.
But more so going out and really experiencing some of the things we do, some of the things Travis does.
Yeah.
Going out in a circle of woods and if you go out in the woods and you sit there in the quiet,
right,
you're going to experience something, and in the right area.
Right.
Meditation is a lost art because we're always in a hurry.
Yes. Yeah. Nobody ever has time.
Mr. Meditation's on the phone right now.
Well, speaking of that kind of thing, so what do you feel like is the best way to communicate? So let's say we're looking for ghosts, okay?
Right.
We're in a haunted location, supposed haunted location. So what is your personally best, equipment, technique? How is your best way to communicate with ghosts or spirits?
Well, me personally, it's metaphysical.
Well, yes. I knew that, but
I think the best instrument that you can ever use is yourself.
Right.
The human body has ways of detecting a spirit. Right. And it's built into us to know.
And of course, like you said, the more you do it.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, that's built in. I don't think that. Go ahead.
Not just on the disembodied spirit side. I mean, you can do that with living people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, that's, you got to communicate that way. You can't.
We don't like to communicate with living people.
But no, you're totally right. I mean, and connections, that's the paranormal can be so much more than the box we put it in. I mean, I know that I'm connected with, Stacey to the extent that I know if she's hurt, and I know certain things about her, and there's a few people that I'm connected with, a lot of people like that, and we all are. But the human body and the psi is so astounding. You know, we get the goosebumps, we get the goose pimples, right? Mm-hmm. You know, why do we do that? And you know, when and it's usually right. The cold spots with the energy coming out. I mean, there's a lot of ways to be able to feel it, but more than that, and I'm not even talking about being a psychic. I'm talking about more than that. Mm-hmm. You get the feeling when you get yourself in tune with yourself, basically. With
that is
go ahead.
one of the biggest things. That's all I was gonna say.
No. I mean, yeah, it's not.
I mean, it does. I mean, you can't go out looking for something when you haven't looked at what you got going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I know, John, you like to say that everybody has their tell.
Yes.
When there's some kind of activity going on, and the longer that you do this, and the more you actually do it, and like you said, you know, figure out how your own body reacts to different things, then you figure out what your tell is.
Yeah.
I know for me, for a long time, if I was ever around any kind of a lot of activity, I mean, good or bad, just any kind of extra activity, I would get really nauseous. Right. I mean, it would just make me so sick.
Right.
It was not funny. And I don't really get that sick anymore. I think it's evolving or something. I'm not sure. Now I get more of a pressure on my chest, but
right. And
you know, I can always tell.
I know when something's happening to me, extreme activity, you get headache. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I've noticed that about you. But yeah, it's paranormal poker. Everybody has a tell. And, you know, you have to figure out, as we were just talking about, get in tune with yourself. You know, what's different? Mm-hmm. You know, there's activity happening. What's different? What's different about me? Are my eyes watering? Does my ears turn red? Am I true? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, is there a ringing in my ears?
Right.
Everybody has a tell. But if you're speaking about paranormal equipment for those out there who would like to just go and
take all the metaphysical out of it.
Take the metaphysical out of it.
Strictly science.
If that's the case, then Travis, what would you suggest are the best proven for you paranormal gear, if you will, to actually go out and try to measure or communicate
with spirits?
Okay, communicate.
Yes.
I from what I've seen, the Frank's box, the hack, the sweep, the radio sweep.
Mm-hmm.
I love you.
I mean, you know, like I said, just going by the investigations I have been on and what I've done, what we've done together, and you know, I've done separate.
I mean, it's real time.
So he's a sweep guy.
Yeah, it's real time.
And I would have normally.
You don't have to, and you know, you usually hear it immediately. It's right there and right then. You don't have to, you know, take audible and filter out static and stuff like that. It's just,
right.
You know, we don't really do that though. We don't really mess with our EVPs that much.
Never.
If we can't hear it the way we recorded it,
I throw it away.
We don't mess with it. We try not to, because then you just get into that fine line of.
Yeah, but I'm also the guy who recorded a album and wouldn't use any enhancements. You know, I went in and when we recorded our first album with Dead Level, I absolutely refused to do any kind of vocal enhancements, any kind of effects. Mm-hmm. They were all there for us to use, but I wanted to record live. And even though we record it separately,
right?
I made the guys.
You just sang it.
I made the guys go through it, had the headphones on, and my songs were done from beginning to end. And that's the way I think it should be done. I'm old school that way, but you know, just to say, I'm with Travis. I would normally go to you,
right.
and then do it. But through everything I've used, thermals, Mel meters, K2 meters, the really cool EMF meter that I've always wanted since like 2004 and never had, and the Trifield. I've always wanted a Trifield.
You just never bought one though.
I've used them.
Right.
And I've never bought one for whatever reason, but
just wasn't meant to be.
I have always wanted a Trifield meter. But for all of the equipment that I've used, sold, bought again, used again, the best thing I've ever used is the sweep technology. And be it a Frank's box or a Shack Hack or just a SB7 or, you know, the SB 7000 plus.
Whatever they're on.
that technology for me, the shack hack, that's always, been the best for me. But, I think that sometimes spirits get attached to equipment too.
Right.
So I think that thing is haunted. The one
Is that why we don't use that as much anymore?
Yeah,
it just sits in the closet.
The one that I've had forever. Well, I'll tell you honestly, the reason I started getting very, and you don't know this is new to you. Uh-huh. I started getting very evil communications through that thing. And every time I used it, I had things saying, you're going to effing die. I'm going to effing kill you. John burn in hell.
Well, I never wanted to stay in the room when you use that thing. For some reason, whenever you use that particular box, the shack hack, I always almost fell asleep.
I got in the devil's triangle somehow.
For some reason, that thing just sucks the energy out of me.
Somehow using that thing at one point or another, I telephoned hell, and I got the pissiest demon there. The guy who answers the phone.
Mad. It's mad you woke it up.
It's the guy who answers the phone. And but no, that's why I started trying to go to other things. But as Travis said, it's real time, it's live, and I know you love the story. We've done the public events and we've taken people on these events like at Scarefest and places, and we've done the lectures. But one public event we did at Major Grand Mansion, we took the people through it, and we had everybody in the room down in the basement where Martha was kept in that slave quarter.
Right.
And I was explaining, like I do as the carnival barker, I was explaining what the Frank's box does, and that everyone here will be able to hear. I was like, okay, guys, this is going to sweep through at an alarming rate through radio channels. And when it goes through these stations, you're going to hear full sentences, or you're going to hear words that you wouldn't be able to hear on radio, such as curse words. And so it's not radio. And Stacey, and she'll probably expand on this in a moment, but Stacey always recorded our Frank's Box sessions on an actual recorder. So we could go back later, because she believes that the energy from that can create a good recipe for EVP. And so going back and reviewing that, there's a Class A EVP. As soon as I talk about the fact that they could possibly hear curse words of a spirit saying
that he said we curse.
Yeah.
Like, it was appalled. It was like, he said we curse.
Yeah.
And I think we actually played that EVP on one episode of our show.
It was like,
somewhere.
It was like on one of the haunted
It's really good. I might actually just put that up on the website on the page for this show.
Yeah, it's an amazing EVP. Yeah. It's Class A. It's one of those that people can't hear that and be as skeptical as they were before.
Right.
Just because, my God, the way it was captured.
Well, saying that, obviously, what my favorite communication tool is. And of course, it's just a digital recorder. I like the sweep technology, but it doesn't work for me.
Right.
I don't know why. I think it's because, I guess, deep down in my mind, I have the kind of mind that anytime something comes through it, my mind wants to automatically say that it was a radio station. Even if I try not to believe that, I try to hear what's come through. And I have heard things come through the Frank's box, amazing things. But for some reason, I guess my level of trust in it is not high enough. It just doesn't work for me. It doesn't. But a digital recorder, I can get, that's where I usually get evidence, is on a digital recorder. And like you said, I decided to start recording, when we set up, we started recording with a digital recorder. When we set up, we got EVPs. And I like to record during your Frank's box sessions, because I think that the white noise in it, I don't know if it's either where ghosts are trying to talk through it and they haven't figured it out, or if they're just using the energy from it and they're talking amongst themselves or whatever. But it seems like we always catch some kind of EVP that's on the recorder but didn't come through the actual sweep. So right. I don't know. That's just my favorite.
Yeah. Well, we definitely, it's the thing that they used to say, that they could throw me in a field and get 100 EVPs. I've had great, times with that. To close this out, and obviously this is something that we'll have to come back and have a part 2 and a part 3. Just
to get into the other sections of ghosts.
Just because of conversations, I would like to point out for the someone just starting out, the dangers of the paranormal. And Travis talked about attachments. You can, everybody by this point, if you're advanced enough that you're listening to this podcast, you more than likely have heard the dangers of using a Ouija board. Mm-hmm. Anything like that. And this is the pop quiz, kids. When you pick up a recorder and you start asking spirits to communicate, mm-hmm. you're playing with a Ouija board.
It's the same thing. You're opening a line of communication.
Yeah. And, and that's dangerous. It's dangerous when you're doing it, or it's potentially dangerous just because of the unknown. Just now talking about this, there was a loud bang.
Yeah, in our kitchen.
In our kitchen. We have the studio set up away from it, but this house was built in 1847. Mm-hmm. So in an old New England town. But, whenever you do these things, it definitely opens up the doorway for things to possibly happen. And you need to be prepared for this. You need to open a session and close a session. Learn how to do that correctly. Use protection. Use candles.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, you can expand on that a little bit, Trav.
Well, I noticed a big difference from the time that we started, or I started investigating with you guys, and the little bit that me and Brandy were doing on our own. I noticed a really significant difference from when we started to when I actually started thinking about protection. And I don't think there's any one thing that you should or shouldn't do. I think it's a very personal thing, just because it depends on faith. It depends on what you believe, really. But you definitely want to have something, whether it's a mantra or a prayer or a crystal or something. Just be in the mindset that there's going to be stuff that might be affecting you, and take some precautionary measure, whatever you think is necessary, whatever works for you.
Absolutely. I mean, that's your white light.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Whether it's a coin from your grandfather or whatever is comfortable for you, that's your white light, basically, that you're building around yourself.
Right. I mean, I know some people probably feel like they don't do it because maybe they're not religious, or they don't feel like they can pray or whatever. But really, it's just all about believing in something. Yes, intent. We say that all the time. And as long as you have faith in something, like that coin's going to protect you, then that's what's going to happen. So,
all right. So I always like to end with a bang. So I like to this time. So many good stories. There's so many good stories out there. I'm trying to think of one that included Travis, and I think I got a good one.
Okay.
And Travis, if this didn't include you, I'll edit it out. Were you there at the Black House investigation when the window happened?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that was either the night before or the night after I got the spook on camera.
Yeah. So we've talked about the Black House before on Haunted South and Third Side. The reason it's called Black House, that's not for right now.
Right.
The Black House is a terrible place, and there again with ley lines and cursed areas.
Yes.
That's a cursed area, and Travis and I have agreed on that.
Yep.
There's a lot of stuff, and even after that, Travis, I talked to somebody from Haunt Masters Club who directed our last show. He also talked about some terrible things that happened in that specific area, and he was astounded by the fact that I had lived there, and talked about it being a cursed area from Native Americans.
And isn't that a road now?
Yes.
Yeah, the house is gone. They tore the house down.
I knew the house was gone, but it bothers me that it's a road now.
I think they just widened the road that was there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's probably going to be some wrecks there.
Yeah.
But
I wasn't going to say it, but that's what I was thinking.
I know. Sorry, but the window that night, and you did catch a full body apparition. But talk about the window. Do you remember how that happened? Because it's pretty intense.
If I remember right, we pretty much finished up and we're packing up, or had packed up, and we're talking. And was there something that happened downstairs right before?
Yes.
It seems like there was something else in the house that happened that drew our attention. And while we were talking about that, the window, which, if I'm not mistaken, had been painted shut and closed about as long as you lived there,
Yes.
just opened up. It was painted over and locked, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was painted over and locked, and there was no curtains up because we had already moved out.
Right.
And it violently opened.
Shot up.
It shot right up. There's no way it could have done that. I mean, there's no way it could have done that.
No, I couldn't
Nobody
even
was
open that
anywhere near
window
it.
if I wanted to.
Yeah, and it was one of those times where it was like just amazing, just an amazing moment. But I witnessed levitation in that house. That was a house where the oppression happened, and I'm just talking about the dangers of the paranormal here.
Yeah.
Not knowing the right protections back in that time period opened up a lot of doorways, and the way that I investigated. It was very
Aggressive?
it was very aggressive before that was even cool.
Antagonizing, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, even though that house was bad already before we moved in, I feel like we did bring a lot of that on ourselves just from not doing all the things we should have done.
Yeah, years of it. And I think that house, I mean, honestly, there was damage that occurred to our family from there that, took years to fix. But it was almost like when you get out of there, you want to be upset about something, or you want to be, but when you got out of there, it's kind of like a cloud lifting. And it's very creepy, and that's one thing I've talked about before, recently. If you feel a certain way, and not in a good way, get a change of scenery. Step away from not from a relationship, but step away from something, step away from a home, get away for the weekend. And just check and see. I'm talking to paranormal investigators.
Right. And, another thing I'll point out just while we're on this line is, I know that we talk about having a small team. It's just us two. But I would like to point out that it's always the two of us together. We never go alone.
Right.
Because then you don't have that other person to say, hey, you're acting kind of weird, or don't go there or whatever.
Well, and then that was one of the reasons for us to get down to the way it is. And like I said, the team actually includes Travis. It includes Alan. It includes, these people who assist and help and we love in our family.
Right.
But when we go out, 9 times out of 10, we go out with Stacey and John. And
and even though Stacey gets put in the closet by herself with the camera, or in the creepy cellar by herself with the camera, there's always someone there to watch and make sure I'm not getting accosted.
Oh God, that's still the best piece of footage.
I love that it's always like, well, you're a woman. I think that'll egg it on. You go up there by yourself.
Travis has seen that footage, Major Grand Mansion. That's probably my favorite footage ever off a documentary we did. Is Stacey sitting in that damn closet, and she's got the Blair Witch camera going on her face. And
it was a small closet. I didn't have anywhere else to put the camera.
It's going right up her nose. And there's a camera guy, there's a boom guy, there's me, Tim. Everybody's standing outside filming this closet from the outside. She's got the camera inside.
I tried really hard not to shoot up my nose. I hope I didn't.
And one of the things I did back in the day that they started doing on paranormal television, damn them all, was using the high, the high gain mic. And I was using the studio mics.
Yeah, it was in the closet with me.
For real time activity, because I noticed that we always got these freaking EVPs on the cameras.
Yeah.
So we turned the high gain up, and it was sitting in there with her, and she's just, it's so great. Is there anybody in here with me? I'm in here with you.
So now I got to put that one up too.
Yeah. Oh. It's just so good.
Yeah, all I have to say is I'm glad I didn't hear that real time.
Yeah, you would have.
Hence the digital recorder that I like to use for communication and not the real time.
So that's the rub right there. So
I don't run out
I
of-
think it's a radio station. You don't think it's a radio station. You just don't want to hear Casper calling your name. I think Travis and I both have you figured out here. Travis, do you have anything that you would like to talk about here on the closing?
I can keep talking.
Well, on that,
there will be another
I
part.
think we covered it. I think we covered it well.
yes, I do
Part
too.
one.
And on that note, Travis Mouldon, I would like to thank you for number one, for putting up with me as a friend, and the number two, for always bringing some intelligence to the conversation and a little bit of sense. I do need that from time to time, and so a little bit of grounding. But
I'm glad to do both.
yes, I know, and we will expand on this later on with a part 2 and a
I'm
part
sure we
3,
will.
and because this is a conversation that needs to happen, and we'll see where it goes.
And we invite people to go to our website and get on our contact page and send us a message about what you feel ghosts are. Like when somebody asks you what's a ghost,
Yeah.
what do you say? Do you what's your theory on that?
Yeah, and
'Cause, they've heard our theories.
We'll be bringing more experts from the field in to talk to us, authors and personalities to really have some good conversations around the paranormal. So excited about this new show, guys. Please share it. Share it with your friends. If you have enemies, share it twice. ParanormalSideshow.com. That's your address to go to find out everything you need to know about Paranormal Sideshow. That you could find a podcast there. You could play it from the website. You could see Stacey's news that she spends a lot of time on. Share the stories, our news stories from the website onto Facebook. On Facebook.com/Paranormal Sideshow. You can find all our stories there as well. At Sideshow97 on Twitter. And John and Stacey Edwards on Instagram. For Travis Mouldon and my lovely wife, Stacey, my name's John Edwards. So long from the Sideshow.
Good night.
Instagram. For Travis Mouldon and my lovely wife, Stacey, my name's John Edwards. So long from the Sideshow.
Good night.